Hello and welcome to the first part of the tutorial video series about modding Falcon BMS. In this video I will cover the basics for this subject matter. Whether you want to get started with modding Falcon BMS or not is entirely up to you. Modding for modding's sake is probably not the best idea though. You shouldn't ask where to start with modding, you should ask yourself why you want to mod something in the first place. Is there something that you would like to see being changed, improved, or is there even something that you would like to see being added? That's the starting point, and the valid question to ask next is, can this be done and how could it be done? It's no crime to take inspiration from other people's work. When you start to mod BMS, you must take the responsibility for it. That means, if you trash your install or run into whatever trouble, don't run to the forums and open a thread under Technical Support. You'd rather start a thread under Community Topics section, General Discussions, or under Modifications, in the Falcon Lounge on Discord. If you have problems, make it clear that you are working on a modded installation and don't make people believe you have issues with the stock BMS install. So, what can be modded in Falcon BMS? If you are a coder, you will be limited to program external tools or applications that can read, process, merge, integrate and output data from accessible files in the BMS installation directory, or from the Falcon Shared Memory tool. Coding custom avionics for other aircraft and stuff like this is currently not possible, unless you become a member of the BMS team itself, as the source code is kept under closed wraps and external programming interfaces don't exist, to allow something like that to be done. Creating custom add-on theaters is also a possibility, but to create a full add-on theater from scratch, requires advanced knowledge and understanding of BMS and is typically not a job that's done by a single individual. You can also create alternative versions of existing theaters, with custom user interface layouts, background music, your own database or campaigns. BMS is very flexible in this respect. You can of course create custom 3D models and textures for new objects and integrate them into the database. This also includes custom cockpits for aircraft. Editing the database allows you to do a lot of things, such as updating object-related data, changing for example the weapon loadouts for an aircraft, updating sensor performance data, changing the guidance of weapons, etc. You can also create or modify flight models of aircraft, or weapons, if you like, and you can add aircraft to different game modes, if they are not available by default. The creation of custom sounds is also a possibility. So in a nutshell, there is a lot that can be done, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Let us now discuss backups. You can trash your BMS installation and there is not much that's more frustrating than reinstalling, or possibly losing hours of work that you have done. Goodbye, says AI Eric, so don't be shocked about the sudden change of the voice.
So that's now myself speaking. What you can see is my E drives that I've opened in the Windows Explorer, and what you can see highlighted are the different Falcon BMS installations that I have installed on the E drive. These are different versions of Falcon BMS 4.37. The default installation name of BMS is Falcon BMS 4.30 something, so in this case 37. If you are using 4.38, there will be 4.38 displayed, unless you have selected a different installation name during the installation of the sim. This information is written into the registry, so if you don't want to mess around with the registry, simply keep the name that you have chosen for installation and then simply create a copy of your main installation. If I would create it here, it starts copying the main installation folder, and it always makes sense to create a copy of the default install so that you can at any time return to your original install, just in case that you trash your modified installation. So I interrupt the copy process. You see here's a new folder created. It's named dash copy. I will delete it now, but in theory you can completely copy this folder, then name it as you like. As you can see, I have named, for example, different installation versions. So for 4.37 update 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, I simply use the official version nomenclature. This is applicable to a particular version like 4.37 or 4.38. Both may exist in parallel, but if you want to keep different update standards, it makes sense to create a copy of one version. When a new version is released, simply make a copy of the old version, rename it like I have done it, or whatever name you find suitable. And the only active installation is the one that keeps the original name, so Falcon BMS 4.37 in this case. And if I now want to change my active installation, I can, for example, simply rename the currently active installation to Falcon BMS 4.37.8. So, and I now rename another version. I use update 4. I simply remove the .4 so it adheres to the original name as it is registered in the registry. And if I would now launch the sim, it will use this particular version. The advantage is that you can quickly switch between different installations in this case. This is all to the fact that you adhere to the original name, but it only works if everything is installed on the same drive, the same day subdirectory. If you have installed Falcon BMS into subdirectories, all must be in the same installation, otherwise you will run into problems. Of course, what you could do is to copy paste an installation somewhere else and copy paste it back if you need it, but that's a little bit more effort and takes more time. So if you can afford the disk space, it's better to have everything in one drive and same subdirectory. This is of course not limited to different update standards for Falcon BMS. It's useful to have such a backup copy just in case that you trash your own installation, so you can simply switch back. But you can, of course, which is less space consuming, simply back up either individual files or subdirectories or complete subdirectories as you like, just to be on the safe side and have a copy of the original, so that in case that if you trash something, you can easily return without reinstalling Falcon BMS altogether. And of course it makes sense that if you have achieved something that works, make a backup copy before you start with something else, especially if you start with something bigger that may potentially compromise your installation. This concludes this first basic introduction video, and in the next video we will directly get started with the first modding tutorial. So stay tuned for the next video. Have a good time. See you. Goodbye.